Okay, so over the past few months I've been keeping an eye on this whole Gamergate deal. And there are a few things that kind of caught my attention about the whole issue. And I want to give an outsider's perspective looking in on the whole deal. Because I've noticed certain commonalities with Gamergate and some of the issues that I happen to support. You know, or some of the debates that I happen to be engaged in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off from the anti-Gamergate side, and this is usually about as far as I can get before I get blocked or banned from them on Twitter or any place else I've been trying to argue with them. And talk about on YouTube, most of the comments and ratings are disabled on their videos. However, my comments and ratings are not going to be disabled. Feel free to leave all the comments and rate the video however you like. Alright? I'm very much so free speech. One of the arguments I got a lot was, quote, "Why do you stick up for these pathetic losers?" Okay, well, from looking at what they have to say, they've actually got some pretty damn good points. So, I have yet to hear any of these points actually refuted. The next one I hear is, they're racists and misogynists. Okay, well, you know what? Those terms get thrown around like candy, and all they are to me is just saying, well, you guys disagree with me, and I can't find a way to disprove what you guys are saying. So, to me, that automatically goes into the insult you because I've lost the debate bucket right there. Unless you can prove how these guys are, quote, racist or misogynist, I don't want to hear it. They have threatened X, Y, and Z. Well, who has threatened them? Have any of the key personalities in Gamergate done it? Has it been third-party trolls? Has it been low-level Gamergaters? This stuff is important. I mean, if it was key personalities in Gamergate, I'd understand. And I can I can understand your anger. I can also understand your frustration if it was a few low-level ones, that got a little bit too frustrated, even though I can kind of understand how some people do get a little frustrated in this. I don't condone death threats, by the way. Though I don't really feel too threatened by them either. They're actually kind of fun to mock. Another one I hear, they're just whining because they won't be able to do sexist things in video games anymore. Yeah, okay, so you're going to come in and you're going to tell them what type of products that they can buy or whatnot. And one of the things I did hear was one critic's criticism over this game, GTA 5. And I guess in the game GTA 5, you're supposed to play as some sort of criminal dude. The title of the game is Grand Theft Auto, but you're doing some sort of crime spree. So it's already you're playing as a bad guy. You're probably committing theft, robbery, murder, assault. And you're concerned about a little sexism. I mean, come on. Really? It's a dang video game. It's something people do within the privacy of their own home. And by the way, I'm very much so pro-free speech. So, if somebody's doing something racist, sexist, or, anything else that would be intolerant, or, how do I put it, negative, they should be real easy to point out, and it should be real easy for you to take apart with logic and reason. Quite frankly, whenever somebody I'm debating says something racist or sexist, quite frankly, I love it, because I can take that apart, because I can take that and run with it. So if they were really doing something racist or sexist, the actual participants in Gamergate, you guys will be able to take that and run with it. They harassed X, Y, and Z. What do we mean by harassment here? Because I've been accused of harassing some gun control advocates simply by responding to them, which is what I've seen a lot of these anti-Gamergates claim that some of these legitimate responses were. And by the way, yes, you are going to get mocking comments when you come out and take a stand or mock or defame somebody else or somebody else's hobby. You know, welcome to the world of politics. Alright, some of the key events I wanted to discuss. Sarkeesian's tropes versus women and the subsequent harassment. Zoe Quinn and the whole depression quest debacle. And the game journals in unison claiming gamers are dead. So I want to move on to the first event. Alright, Sarkeesian and the subsequent harassment. Alright, I've seen some of her tropes versus women videos. From what I heard, she hasn't put all of them out yet, and she's past her deadline despite raising an excess on her funding in that Kickstarter deal. But from the ones I've seen, look, I can look at them and tell they're a big-time hatchet job. I'm not even a gamer. I mean, you're calling Mario sexist, you know, just because he goes and saves the princess. That trope has been around for ages. And in fact, Anita herself ended up living that trope because she had a bunch of white knights come to her aid after people responded to her. Some with maybe a little bit less, how do we put it, tact than what you would usually expect. But you know, what can you expect from maybe some of these guys? Some of these gamers are probably teenagers or, you know, even preteens. So yeah, you know, I expect some level of immature behavior from them. Hell, I get a lot of immature behavior from the gun control advocates. You know, quite frankly, I like to make a joke out of it. Alright, she claimed she was harassed and then focused on a handful of comments. She ignored all the legitimate criticism, by the way. She didn't respond to any of that. You know, what does that tell you? I mean, you want an example of me responding to some criticism on the, say the M855, I've got 2 videos up, which I go into detail. In fact, if you actually look at my video, Rand Paul stands with armor-piercing ammunition, oh my, you'll actually see how you respond by using facts, logic, and reason against the critics. Okay. Actually, I probably should use some bad language in that video. Alright, back on topic. She canceled the USU spike due to them not violating state law and the rights of CHL holders. See, in Utah is one of the few states you can carry on campus if you have a CHL, or a concealed handgun license. Now apparently Sarkeesian got a threat which doesn't fit the profile of what the threat was claiming they were going to do, first off. And second off, you know, that a mass murderer like that is not going to target a place they know CHL holders are going to be. It just messes with their plan way too much. It puts that unknown variable in there of how many more gun owners are there that I don't know about are there, and how many of them are going to have one of these under their coat or under their shirt, you know, or even in their purse. You know, and I know the attendees of that talk probably aren't going to want to be a target of that guy, so they're going to have one of these, assuming that threat was real. But instead, she decides that she's going to piss on all the CHL holders. By the way, you know, to get a CHL, you have to have a pretty clean record. And it varies requirements state to state I know in Texas you can't have any Class A or Class B misdemeanor convictions on your record. You have to be up to date on all your money owed to the state and child support, and you have to be a pretty upstanding citizen to get a CHL. And in fact, CHL holders in Texas are 7 times less likely to commit a crime than the general populace. So again, you're dealing with trustworthy people. She had proposed a video game that failed to live up to one of her own to her own standards. So basically, she's telling video games producers that they need to follow this Bechdel test, but yet her own game didn't live up to those standards. Again, more legitimate criticism there. She's wanting to put her standards on everyone else, but not wanting to abide by them herself. She and her boyfriend, Full Macintosh, aka Simple Mac, they have some real totalitarian issues. They both blocked me on Twitter. They pretty much said, well, you know, and pretty much by doing that, you say, I don't want to have a conversation about this. I just want it to be my way or the highway. That's pretty dang totalitarian. And by the way, this issue wasn't the first time that Simple Mac and I crossed. I recognize that Twitter handle Radical Bites. And I can't remember what we're debating on, whether it was free market or gun control or something like that. It was a while back. Alright. Moving on to the next. The conspiracy and the whole debacle with Depression Quest. Alright, basically Zoe Quinn releases this game called Depression Quest. I just played it today, or I couldn't get 2 minutes of it. Oh my god, I mean, seriously, you're gonna have to do better. If you're watching this, I doubt you are. Seriously, you're gonna have to do better. I don't play games, but damn. Alright. So basically what happened is that, you know, to get a boost for her game, get her game attention, she cheated on her boyfriend with a game journalist, got a pretty good review for her game afterwards. Alright. You're supposedly against depression, and you're going to cause pain to somebody who you're supposed to like and who's supposed to like you, to the person you're dating. Let me ask you this. Are you only an advocate against causing pain towards others when the pain's being done to you? Or are you that, or can you not empathize with the people you hurt? I mean, are you that narcissistic? That's not even the point here. This is a conflict of interest. This would not fly in any professional community, except for maybe the porn industry. And I doubt that they would even put up with this. She claims that she was harassed and given death threats as well. You know, again, if that's all you got, I mean, consider yourself lucky. I mean, because that's pretty messed up what you did there. That was a definite conflict of interest. But again, how much of that harassment was real harassment and how much of it was real criticism? You know, I doubt she'll be honest with anybody on that one. Death threats, again, how many of those death threats were genuine death threats? And, you know, how many of them were statements of frustration? How many of them were made up? I don't know. This one right here, I can understand why gamers are incredibly disgusted by this. I mean, even the first article right there. Gamers don't have to be your audience. Gamers are over. Exclusive from Leigh Alexander. Okay, well, let me give you a bit of business advice here. You might want to ask Smith & Wesson what it does to your profits when you insult one of your core demographics that buy your products. You know, Smith & Wesson learned that hard lesson in the 90s. Now, they've obviously seen the error on their way, came back, and now, you know, they're selling some pretty good M&P rifles, and They've come out with the Smith & Wesson M&P style pistols, which are also pretty decent too. So again, they've learned the errors of their way. They're starting to focus back on the consumer base. You know, and the rest of these guys, I mean, you know, do you honestly think, I mean, if I was a gamer right now, none of these publications would ever get my business ever again. You know, because at this point, you know, you've lost all your credibility with me. I don't think I need to touch much more on that. I mean, it speaks for itself. Other signs I wanted to cover. There was lack of any evidence shown by the anti-Gamergaters that gamers as a whole were anything they said they were. The Gamergate as a whole was anything they said it was. In fact, people like Lee Alexander, the author of that first article, came out to call Adam Baldwin a, quote, washed up crackhead on Twitter because Adam Baldwin supported Gamergate. So apparently the personal attacks go both ways, don't they? You know, apparently, you know, the Gamergaters or the third-party trolls aren't the only ones involved in personal attacks. And by the way, I consider Lee Alexander a key personality in this whole issue, which makes it a little bit different than being a low-level personality or just a third-party troll. That the with us or against us mentality. I've noticed that quite a bit with the anti-Gamergate people, you know. Hence I got blocked, you know, while trying to figure this out by a lot of them on Twitter. Their tactics resemble a lot of other tactics that I've seen several anti-freedom movements use. The big one is that they're going to find something that they can call an issue, now whether it's a real issue, a minor issue, a perceived issue, but they're pretty much going to take this issue and they're going to claim the solution is to make up a whole bunch of new rules that they have set out. That their solution involves their guidance and their guidance alone. That right there is the mark of somebody coming after your freedom. Race and gender politics, one of the big arguments I heard from some of the social justice warriors on the anti-Gamergate side was that, well, if you're a straight, white, cisgendered male, you got people, plenty of protagonists that are your gender, your sex, etc., etc., your race. Well, guess what? I'm not a gamer, and quite frankly, that doesn't matter to me. You know, you want to take an example of this and something I do know a little bit on. Well, let's put it this way. I enjoyed Tyler Perry's Medea Goes to Jail. Obviously, that play that they did, not the movie they made afterwards. I haven't seen the movie they made afterwards, but I enjoyed Medea Goes to Jail. And I think there was maybe only one white male cast in that entire play. You know, now, you want to talk about Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Well, I think the protagonist and most people in there were white. And I wanted to know where I can get the last 90 minutes of my life back when I was done watching that movie. Okay. So, again, somebody's race or gender has very little bearing on me, you know, and what movies I like or what entertainment I like. Some of the other people on the Gamergate side were doxxed and threatened without remorse, you know. And, you know, the anti-Gamergate people had not a damn bit of remorse to say about it. So it shows you the double standard there, right? They're they're whining about getting doxxed and threatened and everything like that, and then it happens to the Gamergate, and they're utterly silent about it. You know, again, double standards. And me personally, on the threats and everything like that, oftentimes, like, you know, I'll post them up to say, see, you know, look at these peaceful gun control advocates. I'll make a point out of it. Oh, either that or I'll laugh at it or mock it. You know, because me personally, I know that it will be a very, very bad day for whoever tries to carry out those threats. I mean, a real bad day. You see that episode of South Park where, they're at Aspen, Colorado, if you do this, you're going to have a bad time. Yeah, as if you try to carry out some threats you made at me on the internet, and you're going to have a bad time. Shoot, I had to have some fun with that. Okay, so in conclusion, from everything I've seen, these gamers in Gamergate just want some honesty here. They want some honesty and integrity in their journalism. Not too much to ask for. They, obviously were responding to some hatchet jobs that were done on them. They obviously want the freedom to be able to choose which games they play, which games they buy without being dictated to. Now, yes, there are some rating standards from what I understand on video games, or at least here in the US, to where some games are rated at a certain point where you have to be an adult to buy them. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But these people want the right to choose whatever video games that they play without interference with people who don't even have a hand in the stake. I mean, these people in Gamergate love their video games and love the freedom to play their video games and to choose which video games that they purchase. Just the same as I love my freedom to be able to own my rifles and my pistols and my shotguns, I mean, so their freedom is pretty important to them. And the last thing I want to say to social justice warriors, you don't own minorities and you don't own women. Not Your Shield was up there, and there were several women and minorities coming out and saying, hey, you don't speak for us. And that's another thing the social justice warriors are going to have to accept and know. And I don't think they ever will.